Did you know that there are over 10,000 varieties of tomatoes across the whole world? How do you decide which tomatoes to grow? I have some logical steps to help you think through the ways to decide on which variety to choose. I cannot decide for you, but I can help you decide. The first thing you need to do when deciding which tomato plant and variety you want to grow is decide what you want to do with it. There are too many different options. So what do you want to do with it? Do you want to snack on it? Do you want to cook with it? What are you cooking with it? Are you putting it in salads? Are you making soups? Are you making pizza sauce? So figure that out, and maybe you do multiple varieties because you want to do a few different things. One of the main type of tomatoes is beefsteak tomato. They are big, juicy, delicious tomatoes, which are often used on hamburgers, great for slicing and dicing, just all around productive tomato. A lot of pounds come off of a plant and great for cooking. Another type of tomato is aroma tomato, and they are smaller than beefsteaks, shaped a little bit more like a plum, a little fleshier, great for pastas, spaghetti sauces, because there's less juice in it, so you have to cook off less juice to get your finished product, and that is time saved. Cocktail tomatoes are smaller than beefsteaks and Roma tomatoes, but a little bit bigger than your grape or cherry tomatoes, which I have not yet told you about. But cocktails are fantastic in salads. You quarter them up, put them in halves, and they're just great for that. Very sweet, flavorful, excellent snacking tomato. Grape tomatoes are a little bit smaller than a cocktail tomato and similar to a cherry tomato in sweetness, but they are a little fleshier. Cherry tomatoes are one of the sweetest and also one of the smallest tomato around. They're round, which is a little different than the grape tomatoes, which are shaped like a plum, but they are fantastic as a snacking tomato because the whole thing fits in your mouth, so you don't have to bite into it and have it explode. Most of these tomatoes, whether it's beefsteak, Romas, cherry, cocktail, grape tomatoes, there is an option for more colors. And you say, it's just a different color, but there's a point. Red tomatoes are more acidic, so if the acidity in the tomatoes bothers you, then going for a yellow or an orange tomato may be preferable because it's less acidic. Another reason to have yellow and orange and red tomatoes is that when you put them into a salad or a dinner dish, it adds a lot of color variation, which is just aesthetically pleasing. Now that I've covered the main classes of tomatoes and color, you have to decide what kind of plant you want to grow. And there are two types of plants: indeterminate varieties and determinate varieties. Now, if you take the word determinate, the plants are genetically determined how high and tall they will grow. So they will grow up until 2, 3, 4, 5 feet tall, then they will stop. The indeterminate variety, it would make sense that they are not genetically determined. They are indeterminate. So these plants here behind me, these are indeterminate variety tomato plants. These plants can easily grow 40 plus feet in 1 year. They will just continue to grow as long as they are healthy and have a favorable environment to grow in. A lot of field tomatoes or bush tomatoes are determinate variety tomatoes, and the reason is they need much less trellising, much less pruning and stringing up. You can see behind me that there are strings hanging here on these tomatoes, and these tomatoes, there is one main header going up and all the side shoots are taken out. Determinate variety tomato, you let it grow more like a bush. There's less pruning involved and, in theory, easier to grow. But there is one other main thing that is different between a determinate and an indeterminate tomato plant, is how they produce fruit. It's completely different. These indeterminate tomatoes, they will continue to grow and they will start producing fruit here. And as they grow, they'll start producing fruit here. And they'll continue doing that as they grow over the next 10 months. A determinate tomato plant only grows leaves in the beginning stage of its life, and then once it's reached maturity, then it will start producing fruit, and it produces all its fruit at the same time. So this is very different than an indeterminate variety of tomato. So usually the determinate varieties are great for shorter season, outdoor growing. The indeterminates are great for greenhouse growing and seasons that are longer seasons than we have here in Alberta. Right now it is minus 25 outside, so nothing is growing, and we cannot plant until probably after May long weekend outside. So we would like to have a determinate tomato plant outside because it will yield more fruit in a short period of time that it has available compared to an indeterminate variety. Now the nice thing about having an indeterminate variety of tomato plant is that you can harvest continually over 7 months out of the year. These plants are not even a couple months old yet, but once they start producing fruit toward the end of March, and this is now middle of January, they will produce fruit continuously until December when they are removed. In a market garden situation, you want continuous production because you want to sell them week to week to week to week. And having a determinate variety will only produce lots of fruit in once. A determinate variety is great for processing because you can process all of that fruit in one large batch. But an indeterminate variety is great for when you want to eat tomatoes throughout the year. So both are useful. So now that I've given you some information about tomato plants, you can narrow down your search for which species and variety of tomato plants you want to grow. Now there's one thing to consider is disease tolerance. You want to select a disease tolerant tomato plant for your region. So there's a lot more information that you may need to grow tomatoes. So this is just the beginning step of growing a tomato plant. There's a lot of information involved in growing tomatoes, and I plan to share that in other videos. Thanks for watching. I have a lot more videos planned about growing vegetables in your backyard, tomatoes and other vegetables as well. I have plans to make a few different type of hydroponic systems where we can grow hydroponically in our backyard in a very small footprint. We want to maximize the potential of our space that we have in our yards and on our back deck or in our condo, so hydroponically is a great way to go. I will be comparing a few different hydroponic systems to traditional growing methods. I plan to do a few different tests and garden comparisons. I will be vlogging the progress of my backyard gardening regularly so that you can follow along and see what's going on. Please consider subscribing, comment, like, share the videos, give me a thumbs up, all greatly appreciated. I'll post a link to my website below. I plan to put all my videos organized in a way on my website where you can use that as a source for information. If you are watching this and it's not January of 2020, then please check out my other videos.